I gave my son a watch worth $85,000 for his birthday. He called it vintage junk and handed it back. 2 weeks later, I sold it at auction for $112,000. When he found out, he showed up at my house demanding I give him the money. But by then, I'd already spent it on something he'd hate even more. Before I continue, please subscribe to Obsidian Vengeance and comment what time it is where you are right now. The box sat on my desk for 3 days before I wrapped it. Burgundy leather, brass hinges, the kind of case that whispers expensive even before you open it. Inside, nestled in cream silk, the Omega Speedmaster Professional gleamed under my desk lamp. Stainless steel, black dial, Hesselite crystal scratched just enough to prove it had lived a life worth living. My father wore this watch on his wrist when Apollo 11 launched, July 16th, 1969. He was 34 years old, standing in mission control at Kennedy Space Center, doing trajectory calculations that would put men on the moon. The watch kept time while he worked 18-hour shifts, making sure those astronauts came home alive. It kept time through my childhood, through his retirement, through the cancer that took him at 72. When he died, he left me 2 things. A letter that said, "Take care of your family in this watch." I wore it for 15 years. Then I stopped, not because I didn't love it, because I couldn't look at it without hearing his voice telling me I was failing at the one thing he asked me to do. My son Marcus stopped returning my calls 2 years ago, busy with his startup, busy with cryptocurrency ventures, busy with his girlfriend Vanessa, who posted their entire life on Instagram like it was a performing art. I saw more of my son through her stories than I did in person. Pictures of them at rooftop bars, Bitcoin conferences, something called an NFT launch party where everyone looked very serious about cartoon monkeys. But when Marcus turned 41 last month, Vanessa called. "Richard, we're having an intimate birthday dinner, just close friends and family. Marcus would love for you to be there." I didn't believe that last part, but I said yes, because that's what fathers do when they're drowning in hope. The restaurant was called Ember, all lowercase, naturally. The kind of place where the menu has descriptions instead of prices, and the waiter introduces himself like you're about to become best friends. I arrived at 7 carrying the wrapped box. Burgundy paper this time. Gold ribbon. I'd spent 45 minutes on the corners. Perfectionism is both a blessing and a curse in aerospace engineering, also in gift wrapping. Marcus sat at the head of the table. Tailored suit, no tie. Beard trimmed to exactly the length that said, "I'm successful but still creative." Vanessa next to him in something shimmering that probably cost more than my first car. She saw me first. "Richard, oh my God, you came!" She air-kissed near my cheeks. Her perfume smelled like money and jasmine. "Marcus, babe, your dad's here." My son looked up from his phone, smiled. The kind of smile you give strangers in elevators. "Hey, Dad, thanks for coming." "Happy birthday, son." "Thanks. Grab a seat. We just ordered appetizers." I sat. 6 other people at the table. I recognized none of them. Marcus introduced them rapid fire. Tyler, Jamal, someone named Crypto, Kev, who apparently went by that in real life. 2 women whose names I immediately forgot. Everyone had phones on the table, like personal altars. Everyone checked them every 90 seconds. The waiter brought small plates. Tuna tartare, bone marrow, something described as deconstructed Caesar salad that looked like someone had forgotten to construct it in the first place. I ate quietly, listened to them talk about market corrections, gas fees, which blockchain had the best consensus mechanism. My father had put men on the moon with slide rules. These people were very animated about digital tokens. After the main course, Vanessa clapped her hands. Okay, present time." She pulled out her phone, aimed it at Marcus. "Babe, you're about to get so spoiled." Everyone produced gifts. Designer wallet, limited edition sneakers, something called a hardware wallet that looked like a USB drive but apparently held a fortune in cryptocurrency. Marcus opened each one, thanked everyone, set them aside. Vanessa filmed the whole thing, narrating for her Instagram stories. And now Marcus is opening Tyler's gift. Oh my God, these Balenciagas are sick. I waited. The box felt heavier in my lap. Finally, Vanessa pointed at me. Richard, don't be shy. What did you get our birthday, boy? I stood, placed the box in front of Marcus. Happy birthday, son. He looked at it, looked at me. Dad, you didn't have to. Open it. Vanessa zoomed in with her phone. Ooh, mystery box. What is it? What is it? Marcus unwrapped it carefully, lifted the leather case, opened it. The watch caught the restaurant's Edison bulbs just right, throwing off little sparks of light. For maybe 3 seconds, nobody said anything. Then Marcus laughed. Not a mean laugh, worse, a confused laugh. Dad, is this a watch? It's your grandfather's Omega Speedmaster, 1969. He wore it during the Apollo missions. Oh, wow. Marcus lifted it out, held it up. The bracelet dangled. This is really old. It's a piece of history. Vanessa leaned in, still filming. Wait, like a vintage watch? That's so retro. She said retro the way you might say peculiar smell. Marcus turned it over. There's scratches all over it. Those are from 55 years of being worn by a man who helped put humans on the moon. Right. He set it back in the box. It's cool, Dad. Very sentimental. Tyler leaned over. Bro, is that mechanical? Like you have to wind it? It is, I said. Crypto, Kev laughed. Dude, that's hilarious. Like a steampunk thing. It's not steampunk. It's the watch NASA certified for spaceflight. Marcus closed the box. Gently, like he was handling something fragile and slightly embarrassing. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate the thought. Really, but... He glanced at his wrist. Apple Watch Ultra, titanium, probably the newest model. I kind of need something with actual functionality, you know? Tracks my heart rate, gets notifications, does a million things. This is more like a museum piece. Your grandfather wore that watch for 30 years. And that's cool for him, but it's not really my style. He pushed the box across the table toward me. Not aggressive, just returning merchandise. You should keep it. Or maybe donate it to a space museum or something. They'd probably appreciate it more. The table had gone quiet, everyone staring at their phones, pretending to be very interested in whatever was on the screens. Vanessa had stopped filming. A museum piece, I said. Yeah, like, it's vintage, but not in a good way. More like antique? Marcus shrugged. No offense, Dad. It's just not practical. I'm into tech, wearables, stuff that integrates with my digital life. This is like asking me to use a flip phone. Vanessa touched his arm. Babe, your dad went to a lot of trouble. I know, and I appreciate it. He looked at me, earnest now, trying. Dad, I really do, but I can't use it. You get that, right? I picked up the box. The leather was warm from the table. I get it. Great. Okay. Relief washed over his face. Anyway, thanks for coming. This was nice. It was. I stood, put on my coat. Marcus had already turned back to his friends, laughing about something on someone's phone. Vanessa caught my eye, mouthed, sorry, with an apologetic smile. I nodded, left cash for my portion of the bill, even though I'd barely touched my food. The waiter said something about cake coming. I didn't stay for cake. The drive home took 20 minutes. I spent 19 of them not thinking about my father. The 20th minute, I let myself remember him at the kitchen table, teaching me to read an analog watch face. See these hands? They move whether you watch them or not. That's the whole point. Time doesn't care if you're paying attention. At home, I set the box on my desk. Same spot it had been for 3 days. Like it had never left. Like I'd never had hope that my son might want something from his grandfather. Something that had survived Apollo 11, survived mission control, survived 55 years of being cherished. My phone was in my hand before I'd decided to pick it up. Scrolling through contacts, I found the name, hovered. Christine Delacroix, Sotheby's. I'd worked with her in 2019 when I sold my mother's jewelry collection. Professional, discreet, understood the difference between price and value. My thumb hovered over her name for maybe 5 seconds. Then I tapped. 2 rings. Richard Hawthorne. This is a surprise. Her voice was warm, slightly French accented, even after 30 years in New York. Christine, do you still handle watches? We do. Quite actively, actually. The market is very strong right now. I have an Omega Speedmaster Professional, 1969, worn by an Apollo engineer during the moon landing missions. Full provenance documentation. Silence. The good kind. The kind that meant she was thinking in dollar signs. Richard, are you serious? Completely. Do you have the original papers? Any photographs of him wearing it at NASA? I have everything. Mission badges, identification cards, photos from mission control. My father documented everything. My God. I could hear her typing. The market for Apollo-era Speedmasters is extraordinary right now, especially with NASA provenance. We sold one last year for $98,000, but that was without direct mission connection. I looked at the watch. Light from my desk lamp made the crystal glow. What do you think mine is worth? With that level of documentation? Richard, I'd estimate between $85,000 and $115,000. Possibly more if we get the right bidders. My son's voice in my head, like a museum piece. When can you take possession? How soon can you bring it to New York? Tomorrow? Christine laughed. You're serious? Okay. Let me consult our calendar. We have a watches auction scheduled for February 14th, Valentine's Day. Very romantic for watch collectors. Perfect. Richard, are you sure? This is your father's watch. I'm giving it to someone who'll appreciate it. Understood. I'll email you the consignment papers tonight. I hung up. The watch sat in its box, waiting. That night, I pulled out every piece of documentation I had. My father's NASA badge. Photos of him in mission control. The Omega clearly visible on his wrist. Letters of commendation. Mission patches. 48-year-old newspaper clippings about the Apollo program. Everything went into a manila folder that grew thicker with every edition. At midnight, I emailed Christine photos of everything. She responded in 4 minutes. Richard, this is museum quality. We need to feature this. The next morning, I drove to New York. 4 hours in January, cold. The watch rode in the passenger seat, buckled in. I didn't play music, just drove and thought about my father explaining orbital mechanics while pointing at the moon through our kitchen window. See that? We put people there. And they came home because hundreds of us did our jobs perfectly. Sotheby's York Avenue offices looked the same as I remembered. All glass and marble and the quiet efficiency of money changing hands. Christine met me in the lobby. Still elegant, still sharp. She'd aged 5 years since I last saw her. I'd probably aged 10. Richard, she hugged me. Not a business hug, a real one. Let me see it. We went to her office. 3rd floor. She put on white gloves before touching the case. When she opened it, she actually gasped. Oh, this is pristine. My father took care of his things. She examined it under magnification. Checked the serial number. Opened the case back. Richard, this is... I cannot overstate how significant this piece is. The serial number dates it to early 1969. This would have been purchased right before the Apollo 11 mission. My father bought it in June. He wanted something reliable. He chose correctly. She made notes on her tablet. The Speedmaster was the only watch NASA certified for spacewalks. Your father was wearing the same model the astronauts wore on the moon. I know. The condition is remarkable. Scratches, yes, but appropriate wear for age. This actually increases value. It proves it was worn, not stored. She photographed everything. The watch from every angle. The documentation spread across her desk like archaeological evidence. This will be a highlight of our February auction. What's your estimate? Conservative? 85,000. But Richard, she looked up. I think we'll see 6 figures. The Apollo connection is gold. No pun intended. I signed the consignment papers. 7 pages. My hand moved automatically, signing Richard Hawthorne over and over. At the bottom of the last page, I paused. Christine, I need to ask you something. Of course. If someone comes asking about this watch, someone claiming it was a gift, what do you tell them? She set down her pen, studied my face. Richard, Once you sign these papers, you are the sole owner consigning this piece. No one can contest that. Good. Would you like the sale to be private? No. List it publicly. Full catalog entry. Wrong answer. I knew it even then, but I was thinking about my son's laugh. That's like asking me to use a flip phone. I was thinking about how he handed the box back like returning defective merchandise. Done. We'll feature it on the cover of our catalog. I left the watch in her gloved hands. The drive home felt longer than 4 hours. The passenger seat stayed empty. That evening, Marcus texted, "Hey Dad, thanks again for dinner. Vanessa and I appreciated you coming." No mention of the watch. Not even an acknowledgement that it had existed. I stared at the message for 5 minutes. Finally typed, "You're welcome, son." He replied with a thumbs up emoji. Nothing else. The next 3 weeks were quiet. I went to the gym, read books, avoided looking at my father's photos. On February 1st, Christine called. "Richard, the catalog is live. Your watch is lot 47, already generating significant interest." How much interest? We've had 17 inquiries, 3 serious collectors, 1 museum. A museum? The Smithsonian Air and Space. They're very interested. My father's voice again. Take care of your family. Maybe family was bigger than blood. Maybe family was anyone who understood why a scratched watch mattered more than a smartphone notification. Good, I said. Meanwhile, across town, Marcus stared at his laptop screen. His office, really just a spare bedroom in his condo, was lit by 3 monitors showing cryptocurrency charts. Every line pointed down, red numbers everywhere. His portfolio had lost 40% of its value in 2 months. Crypto winter, they were calling it. He called it a nightmare. "Babe?" Vanessa appeared in the doorway. "Yoga pants, crop top, phone in hand as always. Have you seen Bitcoin? It's under 28,000. I see it. Didn't you buy most of yours at like 45? I'm aware. So you're down. A lot. I'm down a lot." He rubbed his face. 2 hours of sleep. Coffee wasn't helping anymore. I need to liquidate some positions, but if I sell now, I lock in the losses. What about your savings? Vanessa. My savings are in cryptocurrency. All of it? That's what going all in means. She bit her lip, scrolled through her phone. What about your dad? Could you borrow from him? Marcus had thought about that. Of course he'd thought about that. His father lived in that 4-bedroom house in Westchester. Retired aerospace engineer pension. Social Security. Probably had money saved. I don't want to ask him. Babe, he's your dad. He'd want to help. After I handed his gift back to him, that would be awkward. It was just a watch. Yeah. Marcus returned to his screens. Just a watch. On February 14th, at exactly 2 p.m., Lot 47 came up for auction. I sat in the back row of Sotheby's auction room. Maybe 70 people total. Phone banks along the walls for remote bidding. The auctioneer took the podium. Professional, practiced. British accent that made everything sound more valuable. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to Lot 47. Omega Speedmaster Professional. Reference 145.022, circa 1969. Belonged to NASA engineer Thomas Hawthorne, worn during Apollo 11 mission control operations. Complete provenance documentation, original papers, mission photographs. This is a remarkable piece of American space history. The watch appeared on 2 large screens flanking the podium. Every scratch visible in high definition. Beautiful. We'll open bidding at $60,000. 4 paddles went up immediately. The auctioneer pointed. 65. Another paddle. 70,000. Phone bank lit up. 75 on the phone. The bidding climbed like a rocket launch. 90 seconds of pure momentum. 80,000. 85. 90. Each increment erasing my son's dismissal word by word. $100,000. The auctioneer's voice carried perfectly. No strain, just facts. 105. 110. The room had gone silent except for the bidding. Everyone watching the screens, the paddles, the numbers climbing. $112,000. The auctioneer scanned the room. Fair warning at 112,000. The pause lasted 3 seconds. Long enough to remember my father's hands winding that watch every morning. long enough to remember Marcus's laugh, like a museum piece. The gavel fell. Single crack, clean, final. Sold. $112,000. Applause rippled through the room. The gentleman next to me shook my hand. Congratulations. Remarkable piece. I nodded. Accepted condolences disguised as congratulations. Christine found me afterward, beaming. Richard, I told you. The Smithsonian was bidding. They lost to a private collector from Dubai. Dubai. He has one of the world's finest space memorabilia collections. Your father's watch will be displayed alongside genuine moon rocks. My father would have loved that. My son would never know. I drove home with a check for $106,400. After commission, the sun was setting. Valentine's Day traffic clogged the Bronx. I didn't mind. My phone rang 40 minutes into the drive. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Rang again. Same number. Again. Finally, I pulled over. Quiet street in New Rochelle. Answered. Dad? Marcus. His voice cracked. Dad, what the fuck did you do? Hello, son. Tyler sent me a link. Sotheby's auction results. That watch. Your watch. Grandpa's watch. It sold for over $100,000? $112,000. You. He made a sound. Somewhere between laugh and sob. You sold it? You actually sold it? You said it was a museum piece. I found a museum. Dad, that was my watch. You gave it to me. That was my gift. I watched cars pass on the street, headlights in the gathering dark. No, that was my gift to you. You handed it back. Remember? You should keep it. Those were your exact words. I just meant for that night. I was going to take it home and what? Look at it? Wear it? Or put it in a drawer and forget about it like you've forgotten about me? Silence. Heavy. Breathing on the line. Dad. Marcus? When was the last time you called me? Not texted. Called? I don't know. I've been busy. 2 years. The last time you called me was 2 years ago to tell me you were moving in with Vanessa. Since then? Text messages. Instagram stories where I have to watch my son's life like I'm a stranger. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I gave you a piece of your grandfather, a man you never met but who worked himself to death making sure astronauts came home to their families. He wore that watch during the greatest achievement in human history, and you laughed, called it vintage junk, handed it back to me like I'd given you a participation trophy. I made a mistake. I didn't know it was worth. That's the problem. You didn't know because you didn't ask. You didn't care enough to ask. The value wasn't in the steel and crystal. It was in what it represented, who wore it, what he did while wearing it. But you couldn't see past your Apple Watch notifications long enough to give a damn. His breathing had changed. Ragged. I need that money, Dad. Excuse me? The money. From the sale. I need it. My portfolio is. I made some bad investments. Crypto crashed. I'm down 40%. If I could just borrow. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You want me to give you the money? Not give. Loan. I'll pay you back when the market recovers. The market that you're an expert in? The one that just lost you 40%? Dad, please. I'm in trouble. Real trouble. Then get a job. I have a job. I run a startup. That makes what? Tokens? JPEGs? Whatever the hell an NFT is? You don't understand the technology. No. You don't understand responsibility. I looked at the check on my passenger seat. 6 figures. My father's legacy converted to numbers on paper. That money is already spent. On what? Something you'd hate even more than a vintage watch. Dad, I'm donating it to the Air and Space Museum, in my father's name. They're creating a fellowship for young engineers, kids who want to put rockets into space, instead of money into digital casinos. The silence lasted so long I thought he'd hung up. Then, you're punishing me. No, I'm teaching you. There's a difference. By taking something that was mine, nothing was yours. You rejected it. You handed it back. You think you can treat people like return merchandise and then demand the refund when you realize your mistake? My hand gripped the phone hard enough to hurt. Your grandfather wore that watch for 30 years. 30 years of never missing a day of work. Never complaining. Never expecting applause. just doing his job perfectly because lives depended on it. You wore it for 30 seconds, then laughed. I'm your son. Yes. And you've made it very clear what that means to you, which is why I'm not giving you a cent. I hung up, turned off my phone, sat in the car watching February twilight turn to night. My hands didn't shake. They should have. Instead, they felt steady, certain, like my father's hands calculating trajectories that couldn't afford to be wrong. The drive home took another hour. By the time I pulled into my driveway, 3 cars were already there. Marcus's Tesla, Vanessa's Range Rover, someone else's BMW. I sat in my car for a minute, deciding. Then I got out. Marcus was on my porch, pacing. Vanessa stood by the door, filming on her phone. The third person was a man in a suit, 40-something, leather briefcase, lawyer energy. Dad. Marcus stepped forward. His eyes were red. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. This is David Fletcher. He's an attorney. The lawyer extended his hand. I didn't take it. Mr. Hawthorne, I've advised your son that he may have grounds to contest the sale of the watch. If it was given as a gift, it was rejected. That's a matter of interpretation. No, it's a matter of fact. I gave it to him. He handed it back. In front of 6 witnesses. I'm sure Vanessa has it on video somewhere. Vanessa lowered her phone. Guilty. Mr. Hawthorne, the lawyer continued, I think we can reach an amicable solution. If you were to split the proceeds with Marcus, get off my property. Marcus grabbed my arm. Dad, please. I'm drowning here. I need help. I looked at his hand on my sleeve. Let go. Not until you listen. Let go. He did. Stepped back. You'd really do this? Your own son? My son stopped existing when he couldn't be bothered to return phone calls. What you are now is a stranger who thinks family is an ATM machine. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. Your grandfather taught me that. He died at 72 because he worked too hard for too many years, making sure other people got home safe. He never complained, never asked for recognition, just did his job. And the one thing he left me, I tried to give to you. You called it junk. I was wrong. I admit it. I was wrong. Marcus's voice cracked, tears on his face now. Real ones. Please. Dad, please. I pulled out my keys, walked to my door. Go home, Marcus. Where am I supposed to get money? The same place everyone else does. Work for it. My startup is not work. It's gambling with extra steps. I opened my door. Good night. Dad. I closed the door. Locked it. Stood in my dark hallway, listening to muffled voices outside. Marcus yelling, Vanessa trying to calm him down, the lawyer's measured tones explaining legal realities. After 10 minutes, cars started. Drove away. Silence returned. I sat in my living room. Didn't turn on lights. Just sat in the dark, thinking about my father. He'd be disappointed in Marcus. But he'd be proud of me. At least I hoped so. Take care of your family didn't mean enable bad decisions. Sometimes it meant teaching hard lessons. My phone buzzed. I'd turned it back on. Messages flooding in. Marcus, Vanessa, unknown numbers. I blocked them all. Then I pulled up my bank app. The check had been deposited, $106,400. I logged into the Air and Space Museum website, found their donation page, set up a monthly transfer, $4,000 every month for the next 2 years, in my father's name, the Thomas Hawthorne Fellowship for Aspiring Engineers. The confirmation email arrived. I read it twice. Then I opened my photos, found the pictures of my father in mission control, young, serious, wearing that watch, doing work that mattered. I sent those photos to the museum with a note. My father wore this Omega Speedmaster during Apollo 11. I just sold it for $112,000. Every penny is going to help kids who want to do what he did. Thank you for keeping his memory alive. They replied in 20 minutes. Mr. Hawthorne, this is extraordinary. Would you be willing to speak at our next gala? We'd love to honor your father's legacy. I typed, I would be honored. Outside, February wind rattled my windows. I made tea, Earl Grey, hot, the way my father taught me. Sat at my kitchen table with the photos, spread out, my father pointing at trajectory calculations. My father shaking hands with astronauts. My father holding me as a baby, that watch visible on his wrist even then, present for every moment that mattered. Marcus texted one final time. 3 a.m. I woke to the notification. I hope you're happy. You've lost your son over money. I typed back. I lost my son 2 years ago. Tonight I just stopped pretending I could buy him back. He didn't respond. I deleted the conversation. Then I deleted his contact. A clean break. Like my father taught me about orbital mechanics. Sometimes you have to let something go. If it's meant to be in your orbit, it'll come back. If not, you're better off knowing. The fellowship launched in March. The museum sent me photos of the first recipient. 18-year-old girl from Nevada. Straight as. Already published a paper on ion propulsion. In the photo, she's standing next to my father's plaque. Behind her, other plaques. Other engineers who made Apollo possible. Anonymous heroes who solved impossible problems. That's where my father's watch money went. Not to casinos. Not to cryptocurrency. To a girl who wanted to put things into space instead of taking selfies in expensive restaurants. Marcus still posts on Instagram. I see them sometimes on Vanessa's public stories. He got a job. Real job. Sales at a tech company. Traded the Tesla for a Honda. Moved out of the condo into something smaller. He looks tired in the photos. Older. Maybe wiser. I don't know. We haven't spoken in 8 months. Sometimes I walk past his old bedroom in my house. I left it exactly as it was. High school trophies, college diploma, photos of us camping, fishing, all the things we used to do before he got too busy. Sometimes I stand in the doorway and remember who he was before he became who he is. But I don't regret the watch. Every month when that donation processes, I think about my father. I think about some kid in Nebraska or California or Florida who'll get to study engineering because a stubborn old man refused to let his son's mistake define his father's legacy. The Smithsonian invited me to their gala last week. Black tie. I wore my father's tuxedo from 1969. Still fits. They gave a speech about the Thomas Hawthorne Fellowship, showed photos of him, told the audience about Apollo 11, mission control, the watch that kept time while he made history. Everyone applauded. I stood there thinking about how my father never wanted applause. He just wanted to do good work, take care of his family, leave things better than he found them. I did 2 out of 3. That's enough.